Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of our podcast, Beneath Your Skin. This is Gaia, officially crazy. Hello, my dear, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay. This is Zoe living in a fantasy world. It's much more exciting here than it is in the real world.
Today, we are going to talk about a masterpiece called The Possession Experiment. I didn't even remember the
you,
title,
you went
and I
blank.
only yeah, and I only watched it like 1 hour ago or something. So yeah, that will tell you how good this movie was. And honestly, at the beginning, it almost tricked me. It had a good starting point, and it could have been interesting. And then, well, no, it wasn't. So the movie starts with an exorcism being recorded. Okay, we know that that's something that really happens because, of course, people want to have proof of what is going on, and of course, after all the scandals and crises inside the Catholic Church, people want to make sure that the priest is not abusing the possessed person or supposedly possessed person. So yeah, that's something that can happen. Of course, what usually doesn't happen is that everybody dies. During the first 5 minutes of the movie, everybody dies. And we find out there is a child in the house because we hear the baby cry. So basically, the baby is perfectly silent and fine when all the hell break free in around him because the mother is possessed, and the first scene is the one with this girl filing her teeth. And if you know the sensation of having someone touching your teeth, you can understand how that scene can be disturbing, very disturbing. So the child is perfectly fine, is perfectly silent. It's a baby. It's literally a baby. So we only find out after people dies in the basement. Basically, everyone, the father, the two priests, someone who was there with a gun for whatever reason, and there is also a cameraman, but we lose sight of him. So okay, 20 years later, yes, there is a jump of 20 years. We see this college student who is attending a religion class. He's the only one who pays attention. He's the only one who cares for the class, and the professor is explaining one of the many torture methods that were used during the Middle Age on people who were accused to be possessed, and is the one with people being covered in honey and then having bees and flies and other bugs
Yeah.
sprayed on them. And of course, you can imagine that's not nice. But if you watched some horror movies about demonic possession, you know that the demon is more than happy to have the body suffering. So that was a torture only if the person wasn't really possessed, but was having mental health issues, like most of the time. So yeah, great job, great job. Spanish Inquisition, great job. Compliment from from this point of view. Yeah, you did really great. You weren't the one who invented the torture, but you were the one who used it with joy. Let's say this. So yeah, compliments. But yes, what else can we say? Because
That's just
yeah,
the premise is so exciting. The thing is it tricks you. The first 5 minutes, I was like, well, that's why it's got an 18, and I was like, okay, yes, this is going not going well because it's obviously going awfully. But like for a horror film about demonic possession, you're like, they've got a priest, they've got a friar there, they're recording how it's going. There's like the caring dad, the woman strapped down. They've got the sound effects right. They've got some lovely effects of the walls cracking. It's filmed in this like tinged orange, earthy kind of camera light. It's like it's really like interesting, and then you kind of pull out, and when you see the house, it's like gorgeously framed. It's a gorgeous looking like I think it's a colonial period house, and
Yeah.
it's in the woods, slightly elevated, and it goes from those colours to this when they're looking around, and they use it later in the house, these beautiful like turquoise blues and dark blue colour schemes. And I was sitting there going, "Whoa, this cinematographer knows their shit!" Like that whenever they're like indoors in the house and it's cold and haunted, it's these lovely greeny blue tones. The basement is these orangey brown tones. The real world looks like the real world. So it's like that juxtaposition of when they jump 20 years into the future, and it's like bright and light, and you're like, yes, this is how you story tell from settings. It's really great. And then it switches to this class, and then I instantly just start hating everybody because A, if I was sitting in a lesson and someone was talking about torture devices, I wouldn't be bored. It's fascinating. It's really interesting. He had a PowerPoint presentation with the pictures of all the things. He was explaining and people in the class are like bored, napping, throwing bits of paper. I'm like, if torture doesn't have you interested, then why are you in this class? And, and even the professor guy seems quite nice. But the minute our main guy, Brandon, goes to his room and his roommate turns up and they all talk in student man voice, they're like, "Oi, bro, oh, what you doing? I'm going to bang some chicks. Yeah, this is why you get no pussy, you dork." And I'm like, people don't talk like that anymore. Unless they do. I mean, I'm not American, but I can't imagine like American high school guys still just kind of go like, "Oh, you're such a dork. That's why you get no pussy." And everyone just talks like that. And I'm like, "Oh my god, you're so misogynistic." And I hate you. You're misogynistic. You only care about banging chicks and wetting your dick. And and also they're trying to make this guy who's, they've obviously cast a rather attractive actor, and he's really hot and wet and fit and well built, but obviously he's got a Spider-Man mouse mat. He's being called a dork, and there's a poster of some like movie and some comic books on the wall, and he's like, "Oh yeah, he's such a geek." I'm like, "Yeah, you could totally tell from his Spider-Man like mouse mat and the one poster on the wall, and the fact that like he doesn't even wear glasses. Yet you're going, 'Oh, you're such a geek.' You're like, 'Oh, no wonder women don't like you, you dweeb.' And I'm like, I hate everybody. I hate everybody." And then from then, I hated everybody for the rest of the film. I, honest to God, thought it was going to go 5 months earlier, and we were going to find out about how this possession went wrong and how the people filming it were the ones doing the experiment, and it all went wrong to lead to it. But no, it jumps 20 years into the future, and then we see a 20-year-old who is obviously obsessed with the occult, and I went, I bet he's the baby. Like, it took me all of 3 minutes, I think, for me to
Yeah.
go, I bet he's the baby.
Exactly. And about the joke, the beefy joke he has as a roommate, where the hell did he find time to change his clothes? He leaves the room and he's dressed in black, and then he comes back with the girl and he wears a nice t-shirt in white and yellow color. When did you find the time to change? He was sleeping on his desk. Brandon was sleeping on his desk, trying to finish some editing on his computer. So, yeah, that made a lot of sense. But yes, you already knew he was the baby. Yeah, okay. You want to do this experiment about demonic possession and exorcism as your final work for the class. Okay, it could be interesting. You are following a class about religions and you want to explore the exorcism, right? Okay, there are so many ways you can go, and not a single one of them includes you being possessed. And you ask to be possessed. Brandon, since the beginning, he not only looks very obsessed with the supernatural and with this project, he comes out as a very disrespectful person. He has always this smirk on his face, like you don't understand anything. I am the only one who can do this because I'm such a great guy and a great character, and I know what I'm doing. No, you don't. You have no idea what you are doing. The professor tries to make him understand that to mess up with things he doesn't understand is going to cause troubles. And I like the professor because for once the professor is a real one. He wants to protect his students.
Yeah.
He knows that they are college students, so he can't forbid him to go through his plan, but he tells him, okay, you are going to mess up and you don't understand this. You don't understand what you are messing with. So the point is, you don't know what you are doing, and messing up with this, you will make things even worse. And that's exactly what happens, of course,
Yeah.
because we know this. The project goes on. They find the house where the first exorcism took place 20 years ago. He meets another classmate who doesn't pay attention to class at all, and they decide to team up
Yeah.
for this project. Yeah, that's a good idea. That's an amazing idea. Someone who doesn't give a damn about the class, who didn't pay any attention to the class, team up with the guy who wants to explore exorcism. Yes.
The other guy's a stoner. It's like, I know who'll be really helpful when contacting the devil and dealing with demonic possession. The stoner guy I literally found on the street, like smoking or getting high outside a building. It's like, hey, you. Yeah, totally. Let's get to know each other. Let's go fight some demons.
They find in the house, behind the wall, with the hand of Mary, hand of Fatima, or hand of Goddess drawn on it, and many rosaries nailed to the walls, and a circle of salt around it to stop people from entering, but also to stop things from coming out from behind that wall. They find our old friend, the Ouija board.
Dun, dun,
Yeah.
dun. Can't have a movie about a Ouija board. And I'm like, when was it so like every demonic possession starts with a Ouija board? I suppose The Exorcist probably started it, but I'm sure there's other ways of doing it.
Exactly. But hey, they needed an easy way. We find the story of this Ouija board, and we follow it. And at some point, Brandon has this great idea. I will use this Ouija board I found on the site of a failed exorcism, and I will ask the demon to possess me so that I can scientifically prove that demonic possession is real. This is going to end so well. And the only thing I really liked in the movie is that he creates a GoFundMe, and he has people paying money to watch him being possessed or to try to be possessed. When the ritual starts, we see many people of different age, different social background, different communities to watch it happening. And I think this is a great statement in a society in which it's more important to record and post something online than to prevent something bad from happening. It makes a lot of sense that people will prefer to watch something that is potentially lethal for Brandon and his friends than to try to stop them. Even the televangelist who cursed Brandon and his idea is watching it instead than try to stop him from doing the mess. The medium they choose, she's a genius. Only when the ritual already begun and shit already begun, she asks, only then she asks him, where did you find this board? You couldn't ask that before you start. And two students of a religion class can't tell her what was on the wall. They say some symbols. So the head of Fatima, or the head of the goddess, is one of the most powerful protection against the devil and the evil in general, and is so ancient that its origin can be dated during the ancient Egypt era. And you don't know how to call it?
No, it's stupid. I mean, the whole build up and the idea that, okay, so he wants to investigate like the rite of exorcism as his final presentation. Fine, it's interesting. He can compare like various true statements versus false statements and how they're conducted, interview priests that have said it. You don't go and go, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to, like, get myself possessed. I'm like, hey, you don't like dig out a Ouija board from something that's clearly like, going, don't go there. It's like, and the thing is, it's like, Clay actually, for a majority of that bit, is like going, can we leave? Can we leave? I don't like it. This is not right. Can we leave? Can we leave? But he's too scared to go on his own because he doesn't want to be by himself, so he's still tagging along. But he's like, this is not right. This is not right. He's like, look, if the stoner can't be asked friend is like, no, I'm out of here. No, I want to go. I want to go. Maybe you should listen to him. But yeah, I do like the idea of. I just find it funny. It's like, I'm just going to do a GoFundMe page, and I was like, oh, that's stupid. And then I thought, actually, yeah, because it is. I love. It's like, I like social commentary in horror movies. I think they're so important, but they just didn't use it enough. Like the idea that it's like those days of the gladiators and like Hunger Games and all that kind of those like real stories and not real stories. The whole idea that humanity will watch other people suffering for entertainment, and it's just like. Well, I'm guilty of that because, my goodness, I wouldn't be watching so many of these horror films if I wasn't slightly entertained by the suffering of others. Like, it's just like it's an inbuilt human fascination, and it's one of my fascination with cinema because obviously one of my subgenres that I'm really interested and invested in is the Japanese genres of like violent cinema and erotic violent cinema, and I'm fascinated by why people are so interested in these like really harsh and violent subgenres. And so I get it. I get the fact that, like, yeah, people would pay their money to watch a potential demonic possession, and would actually be more likely to sit and watch it than actually go, oh, this is not right. Maybe do we know anyone in the area that can go and stop this? Like, no, people wouldn't. People are fascinated by the downfall of others and the pain of others. It makes you feel safer in your own life. It makes you feel more important. And also, it's like that curse of social media. Like, things go viral and then people jump on the train, and like even that evangelist, like, he's all like, this is bad, but the more he condemns it, the more people are watching his videos because he's on the latest trend, and the more popular he gets. So he's getting something out of it, and it's just like, it's fascinating. And if the whole film had been like them filming this, like, imagine a film where they do a demonic possession version of Big Brother. So all the professionals, they have priests from and shamans and religious figures from various cultures, and people who like talk to spirits and demons, and then someone gets like possessed because like the culture clashes, and you get an atheist going, none of this is real, I'm going to use the Ouija board, ha ha ha, none of it's real. And obviously it is real, but then the producers of the show are like, we're not going to let anybody out of the house. And people are just tuning in more and more to watch this possession, and it becomes entertainment to see if they can exercise it. And they're watching someone being exercised as if it was like television, and it no longer becomes whether or not it's proving if possessions are real or not. It becomes how much we are culpable in what's going on, and also how much power we must be giving the demon entity with all this viewership and all these likes and stuff. And I always think that modern demons would live through the internet. Like, they will be like feasting on like on trolls, basically. The more people are dicks to each other on the internet, the more negative energy lives in cyberspace, and it just makes so much sense for demonkind to live in those cyberspaces, just going, oh, hate, war, like, just like, oh, someone committed suicide because you cyberbullied them, num num num, give me that negative power. So this demon just gets more and more powerful because people are just like sharing it, and it just becomes a viral sensation. I'd watch a franchise based around that. It's basically like Law Abiding Citizen. Have you seen Law Abiding Citizen? It's the, yeah, and so the more views it gets, the faster the person's going to be killed. But people are fascinated by this person dying, so they're all watching it, and the cops like, just don't watch it. But the view counter keeps going up, and the person keeps dying. And it's like, but no, it doesn't do any of that. He gets the money, he goes, films it. Some people laugh about how it's fake. He goes, oh, it didn't work. What a shame. Let's all go home. And then he and the girl obviously fall for each other because two attractive people that, you know, did a Ouija board in a basement are totally going to fall for each other. And, oh, at least the mum, I've got to say, the mum was on the right page. Like, you messed with a Ouija board, you didn't listen to your teachers, you didn't listen to the priest, get out of my house because you're inviting evil in. And I agreed with her. And then the film jumps the shark because when he gets possessed, he then decides he's got a Freddy Krueger, and it turns into a weird slasher movie because he's sewn sewing needles onto his fingers, or I don't know, some weird metal things onto his fingers, and he's going around slashing people with them. And I was just like, wait a minute. This was a film about demonic possession, and now it's a film about a crazy person with needles for fingers slashing people's throats and stomachs.
It was a total whiplash. You were like, wait, you were watching one thing, and a second later you were thrown into another movie, and you are like, wait a moment, I have lost something, or I am lost, because really. And then another huge twist, and we find out, of course, we were right, he was the baby, not only the father, who is his adoptive father, of course, decided this is the right moment to tell him he's adopted. So he was already down because his mother kicked him out of the house and basically told him, never come back because I don't want you and your evilness into my house. And so that's the timing was perfect. This is probably the right moment to tell you you were adopted. Not only that, you are Tracy's biological baby. Shit. And I am the unknown cameraman who filmed the whole thing. Even if he wasn't possessed, he had every right to go crazy. After the night he had every right to lose it. But not only that, because another twist, Tracy wasn't actually possessed by the demon. It's even worse. She was kidnapped by a satanic cult, raped by a demon. She had the baby who was in truth the baby of the demon who raped her. And the whole cult is still around. When they see the page he created, they realize, hey, that's the child. Yes, of course he's the child. So everyone goes to try to find him. In the meantime, he went crazy and he slashed everyone and everything he finds. The mother commits suicide because, of course, after she had this demon child in her house, and she went totally crazy and she does terrible things to herself. But yes, he kills a lot of people. The police is starting to say, okay, you know what, young man, you should come with us because you are actually a serial killer. And the girl who fell for him, of course, and who thought it was a great idea to fuck a guy who she knew for 2 days, more or less. No, he is innocent. What if he's really possessed? Yes, that's the right thing to say to the police. Above all, when the SWAT is basically going ballistic to find this person. Yes, okay. Someone arrives telling the girl, Clay, and the father he can help. Of course, he's not there to help. He's there to free Brandon and unleash him on the whole humanity because he was a member of the cult. And I will shock you with the revelation. Everyone dies in the end, but the girl, because of course we need to keep the girl safe for obvious reason. And actually, the end, the last scene of the movie, or what should have been the last scene of the movie, is beautiful. Is beautifully filmed, is beautifully created and realized. Basically, we are back in the house. The house, for once, is full of natural light, is all white. The walls are white. There is a person standing there wearing a white dress, a little bit dirty, but still a white dress. Her hair is beautifully done. She's back. She's Tracy, of course. She's back being the beautiful girl she was before the rape and the possession and everything. And she looks at someone, and we see Brandon being back to be the beautiful young man he was at the beginning of the movie. And they finally found each other. Mother and son are finally back together, and they are finally able to see how they really should have been. So we know those are two souls we see. And the movie ends with them looking at each other. And it was very well done. Then, of course, people watch too many movies of the MCU, and MCU did a huge disadvantage to the entertainment world, teaching people that after the end credits is perfect to put a scene just for fun. This time we didn't need that scene because, of course, the scene is basically the girl finding out she's pregnant. We already knew that. We could have imagined that, because if the son of a demon dies because someone shot him, of course, if we want to have a sequel, we have to make sure the sequel can actually happen. So, of course, after they had sex, she got pregnant. But then the scene is an extreme of everything, an extreme use of a special effect, an extreme abuse of everything cliche. So we can see the cross on her wall. And okay, it starts going upside down. We saw that so many times in during all the movies of the Conjuring saga. We saw that basically in every movie we watched until now. But that's not enough. The cross begins to spin like crazy, and you are like, wait a moment, what the hell am I watching here? And then the whole room basically collapses on itself, and the furnitures move, and she's attacked by her own bed and everything else. And the pregnancy test, it starts to move on the desk, and the black cat, she was holding and petting a black cat, and at the beginning the cat is perfectly fine. Then the pregnancy test is done, and the cat begins to hiss at her, and you are like, why that's insane. And then after we saw already that the pregnancy test was positive, she grabs the test and she's like, oh my God, no! End of the movie. And you are like, okay, I need bleach to wash my brain and possibly my eyeballs. And yeah, that was the movie.
Oh dear, yeah, it's layers upon layers. And the thing is, some of this stuff could have been solved if they'd had a conversation earlier. Like if the adopted parents had told him more about his past, and especially when he went to study religion, if they'd gone, okay, you're studying religion, and then he goes, hey, mum and dad, I'm thinking about looking at exorcisms. Wouldn't the dad be like, I wouldn't do that, son? Because you had a lot of opportunities in the 20 years to come clean to your child about the circumstances of its birth and how you basically kind of just ran off with a baby and went, yeah, my baby now. And it's just like, it's like, well, wasn't that birth registered? Wouldn't someone have noticed? The baby has just disappeared. Never mind. It's like, oh my goodness, if you'd communicated, you could have avoided all of this and maybe steered him towards a different project that wasn't about demonic possession. Also, we never got a clear idea about why he was obsessed with, like, these things. Okay, because he's obviously the son of a devil is why he's obsessed with the occult. But it should have been something subtler than that. It should have been like he finds the videotapes from, like, his dad and watches them, realizes that he must be the kid in them, and he's researching it, and he spends years researching it and researching it, and eventually, like, he finds other people to help solve the mystery of his birth and what happened to his birth mum. And yeah, and it plays out like that. It's like, oh, but a better movie. I do think it's quite beautiful that he's reunited with his mother. That's filmed nicely, and it's another one of those films where the cinematography and the practical effects are on point. Like, I could barely watch the teeth, like, scene because I was just like, and then the bit when, like, the adoptive mum pulls off her jaw, I'm like, these are some amazing practical effects, and I'm like, what is it with these people who know how to film, know how to do amazing horror effects, and they get saddled with people who can't write a script and bad acting, because these guys couldn't act. They were certainly better. I've got to admit, this is the best of this, like, little parade of shit we've been on. This has got to be one of the best. I mean, that's not saying much, but, at least this one, like, this had some lovely cinematography. Its use of colour palettes was gorgeous. And sometimes things were just filmed really well. Like, when they film things and you can see all, like, the soft focus of, like, particles in the air that shows just the stillness of that moment and stuff. It's all ruined by the last scene with the freaking bedroom flying around the place. I'm like, you were doing so well with just your subtle bits. Like, when they're doing the seance, not the seance, the Ouija board, and the medium's hair just goes sideways as if there's something pressed up against her. Great effect. Creepy, weird. You're like, what the hell is going on? Lovely effect. And then it's just, it loses it all because no one can act. The script is weak ass. Like, so weak. It's just like, tighten it up. Just make it normal. Okay, so possession went wrong in the house. The baby disappeared. You adopted the baby. Child finds out about this. Goes to research it. Goes to uni to study the occult to try and find it. Like, is even befriended by another student that's on the crusade with them, and it turns out the friend that's befriended them has been secretly working for the cult the whole time, and he's been sent to befriend him and nudge him in that direction, and then it all go tits up. We cut any of the weird Freddy Krueger shit. Like, we just, yeah, you could, if you want to have the weird cult stuff in it, then yeah, do it that way. And then it's obviously, he's found out about this cult. And then you have some kind of, like, fight for his soul where he finds out that he's, the child of a demon, but he's stressed out because the demon killed his mother. A bit like Star-Lord in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. He has that, like, oh, amazing power, but you killed my mother and you robbed me of that chance to get to know her, and I've always felt there was something missing from my life. And then that idea of, like, that connection to your mother and that connection to a familiar bond can tether you and make you not totally demonic. Maybe kill some cultists, like, or something, but not
Yeah, and we did it again. We wrote our own movies, and and it's a lot better than what we watched. And I have another question. If you basically steal a baby, even if you don't know he was the baby, the child of a demon, but you steal him from an house where an exorcism was attempted more than once over the biological mother of said child, you put a priest into your house and in your child's life since the beginning.
But yeah, you'll be like, right, Sunday school for you. Let's go and get you baptized straight away. Because the minute you take a child to be baptized, if it is the son of a demon and, it starts burning, they'd be like, there's something wrong here. And then you could at least, the baby would have been like, yeah, you just go and get it baptized, straight off the bat. Get it baptized. Even if you're not religious, get it baptized. I don't know, go to the synagogue and I don't know anything about the religion, but go to a Buddhist monk and get it blessed. You just take it around to all the religious people in town and go, here, just like bless this child.
And if you want to go with the baptize because you are Catholic or Christian, okay, you do that, and then the priest realizes, hey, wait a moment, where did you find this child exactly? And you put that priest in his life since the beginning, and you can find a way, even if he's the child of a demon, he is also the child of a human being. So he has a double nature fighting inside his body since the beginning. But if you can teach this child to actually accept himself, but also how to resist the demonic temptation to be evil, you can basically have a creature with a double nature who knows how to control himself and who can reach the age in which he can choose what path he wants to walk.
Yeah.
That would have been a better movie than
Exactly. I would have seen that. Raised to fight his dual nature, raised with like some. I mean, it sounds like the plot of an anime, but you know, you've got, and also that. I mean, the cameraman had all the footage of the possession to prove it was real. And if you know, we all know that like whoever does the exorcisms has to put something towards the Vatican to get them to check. So by the time like you're baptizing the baby and the water's fizzling and the priest is like that's wrong, and then the guy go, oh by the way, this is like you can say I adopted this child, but like I went and I looked for some, but I was here's some tapes, and they'll be like, oh yeah, definitely something demony in your baby. We'll do something about that.
Yeah. And what the hell happened to all the corpse left behind in the house? No one care. I mean, you have two dead priests, one man with the gun dead because he shoot himself, the dead husband, basically also the dead mother, because we don't know even how he was beaten on the neck by the possessed Tracy. So she basically cut his throat open, but he had the strength to go upstairs, and not only upstairs, he had to go from the basement to the second floor. We don't know how exactly, and then he shoot the mother when she attacked the cameraman, who was asking her, what are you doing to the baby? What are you doing to the baby? I don't know. She is possessed. She killed everyone downstairs. What do you think she's doing with the baby? Singing in a lullaby? What do you think?
But yeah.
And so what happened to all those dead people? Did someone care? No. Apparently, no. But yes, people, if Zoe doesn't have anything else to say about this movie,
I think we've covered it.
Thank you for listening. And if you want to talk to us, drop a line on our Twitter account at beneath_your, or you can look for us on our Facebook page, Beneath Your Skin. You can listen to us on Spotify, Beneath Your Skin, or on Pinecast. So thank you for listening, and we hope we didn't scare you away. Bye-bye. See you next time.
As usual, Gaia, it is an absolute pleasure. I'm very excited by at least 3 different movies, or possibly a TV series that we have made from watching this film. I hope everyone else is really excited. In fact, why don't we start a GoFundMe page? Want to see our movie? Yeah. But apart from that, we hope we haven't terrified you all too much, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.